Robert Browning was born in 1812 in England. He was educated by his well-read father. By the age of 5, Browning could read and write. By the age of 12, he had written a volume of Byronic verse that was unsuccessfully published by his parents. In 1825, he received a collection of Shelley's poetry and was so inspired by them that he asked for more books by Shelley for his 13th birthday. In 1842, he published a collection of English poems called Dramatic Lyrics. Then in 1846, he was married to Elizabeth Barrett. During the time Browning wrote My Last Duchess, the Victorian age took place and the Industrial Revolution began as well. There was a lot of violence, poverty, and sex, and it became part of everyday life. Therefore, a lot of authors decided to capture these things in their poems. My Last Duchess was included in the Dramatic Lyrics collection in 1842. The poem takes place in the late Italian Renaissance, and it is based on the Duke of Ferrara talking about a painting of his late Duchess and how it captures perfectly the kind of woman that she was. The poem goes on to reveal the anger the Duke had towards the likes of the Duchess. The poem reads, She had a heart, how shall I say, too soon made glad, too easily impressed. She ranked my gift of a 900-year-old name with anybody's gift. The anger felt in those words is hair-raising. Many people believe the Duchess had been poisoned. By the end of the poem, the Duke brushes off his Duchess' death and continues on to say, Will't please you rise, we'll meet the company below. His fair daughter's self, as I avowed at starting, is my object. The Duke continues on to talk about negotiating his new marriage, after making it clear what had made him unhappy with his last marriage. The tone in which the Duke says that he and the company should go downstairs and meet with the rest shows how quickly he can change from subject to subject. Although the idea of the story is taken from a part of history, Browning's fictional poem lets the readers into the mind of a controlling husband who is angry with his now dead wife. Also, the only name mentioned is Ferrara, giving the poem a more generalized feeling. By using tone, imagery, and symbolism, Browning's monologues showed who the speaker was and that there was an audience listening within the first few verses. Also, Browning's monologues could easily be recognized by 3 things he always included in his poems. Situational irony and verbal irony create a feeling of anger, jealousy, and misfortune for the Duke's last Duchess. Browning's use of verbal irony can be seen when the Duke first introduces and portrays himself as a caring man, but once he begins to describe her, only anger and jealousy towards her can be felt. Then situational irony is seen when the Duke is describing his late Duchess and says, She had a heart, how shall I say, too soon made glad. This shows the Duchess was caring of others by nature, but not because she was cheating on the Duke like he thought. The Duchess was kind and caring, but her husband's jealousy got the best of him. Next, Robert Browning's use of visual imagery is clear when he describes the painting of his last Duchess to be behind a pair of curtains that only the Duke can open up to show the people. Since none puts by the curtain I have drawn for you, but I, we can visualize the kind of controlling husband the Duke was. Then, Browning's use of symbolism can be seen when the Duke talks about the curtain in front of the painting. This curtain represents the Duke's need for control in situations. The Duchess is now seen as a possession that he was now able to control. This need for control is later confirmed when the Duke says, I gave commands, then all smiles stopped together. This need for control of the Duke is again seen at the end of the poem when he points out a statue of Neptune taming a seahorse that was specially sculpted for him. Neptune symbolizes the Duke, and the seahorse stands for the last Duchess, and the statue shows how the Duke wishes he could have controlled his wife. Robert Browning's use of dramatic monologue can be distinguished by 3 things. 1. Seeing things through the eyes of the speaker in the poem, such as in My Last Duchess, he introduces the speaker of the poem to be the Ferrara. The second thing Browning likes to do is he likes the speaker to be talking to their second self. In My Last Duchess, this is clear when the speaker is talking about things that the audience wouldn't really care about. It is as if the Ferrera is reassuring himself that the only way out of what he was in was to kill his wife. And finally, the third thing Browning liked to incorporate in his poems was for the reader to complete the scenery with their own imagination, which can be done in The Last Duchess by imagining to be the one walking through the house with the Ferrera, looking and admiring the paintings and sculptures that he is talking about. Through the use of imagery, irony, and symbolism, Robert Browning gave the readers a feeling of horror, sadness for the Duchess, and anger towards the Duke for what he had done to his wife out of jealousy and anger for not being able to control his wife. Now we can see why so many people believed the Duchess had been poisoned. Everyone could see that the Duke could not control the kindness and care for others that his wife had had, so he had to end all smiles because he was selfish, and he felt that his wife had been humiliating him by cheating on him. Robert Browning's dramatic monologue is today seen as great work. He let the readers imagine themselves as the audience and be able to understand the tone of the speaker, and through the irony and symbols he was able to show what a cruel and angry-hearted person the Duke was.